Hey guys, as promised, this is your Unit 10 test review. So let's go ahead and jump in and get started. PowerPoint over here. All right, so Unit 10 test review. There's 22 questions. There's 9 true or false, 12 multiple choice, and 1 matching questions that's got 10 questions up under it. All right, so let's take the first look over here. All right. So going back to the very beginning of this unit, 3 population areas of the Fertile Crescent were Egypt, Israel, and Mesopotamia. Most of the people of the Fertile Crescent worshiped many gods. Some of the accomplishments of the Mesopotamian people were the weights and measures. Looking a little at what the Egyptians did, they built the pyramids, tombs, and the Sphinx. Right after we left the Fertile Crescent, we kind of branched out a little bit. We got into the Roman Empire. So some of the contributions of the Roman Empire were the aqueducts. Remember, some of them are still being used today in Rome. Good roads and innocent until proven guilty. This is still a big part of our judicial system today, is that a person, when they're arrested, they are still considered innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. All right, so now let's look at the Greek Empire. Some of the contributions of the Greek Empire were the democratic methods of government, basically what we have today in the United States, and a trial by jury, meaning not just going before one person to decide your fate, but you get to trial by your peers. All right, Greece was ruled by city-states because regions were divided and isolated by mountain ranges and deep valleys. So remember, this kept Greece from being a united country for a long time because people were loyal to their individual city-states that were separated by the different mountain ranges and everything, but they were not loyal to Greece as a whole. All right, the New Testament was originally written in the Greek language. All right, land distribution during the Middle Ages was called the feudal system. This was the feudal system. You had the lords that were under the king. They had the whole manor and everything. They had the vassals under them. Then you had the peasants and the serfs. The kings and the nobles lived in large castles. During the Dark Ages and the Middle Ages, there were few books and schools, which is one of the things that led to it being the Dark Ages. People, they weren't learning. There was no way for people to be able to learn to read, be able to learn to write. So people were very uneducated. But also during the Middle Ages, many beautiful cathedrals were built. Health and sanitation were some of the problems of the Middle Ages. That include garbage in the streets, contaminated water, meaning water that was unsafe to drink, and then diseases. All right, so then we started having crusades. Remember, the crusades were journeys made to the Holy Land during the Middle Ages. And when they went over to the Holy Land for these crusades, they brought back silks and perfumes and jewels. This was merchandise from the crusades. And this led to a period of awakening following the Middle Ages known as the Renaissance. And then we had the Industrial Revolution. This is where you started seeing a lot of inventions, the country becoming more industrialized. You had more factories open up. There you saw the movement from the farm to the city, from rural areas more into the city. One thing the Industrial Revolution didn't do was make changes to the government of England. 3 sources of energy that were developed during the Industrial Revolution was coal, steam, and electric power. Protestants who worked for reforming the church were for the Protestant Reformation, for Martin Luther, John Knox, and John Calvin. And then the document giving more freedom to all people was Magna Carta. It was signed by King John. Western European countries have influenced the development of most countries in Africa. The 2 things Africa needs to prosper are peace and good government. Resources from South America include bananas, bauxite, coffee, gold, salt, and spices. World War I began in 1914. World War II began in 1939. After World War II came the organization known as the United Nations. Immediately following World War II, Germany was divided between the USSR United States, Britain, and France. That's kind of like what I read to you today on the Today in History. The city of Berlin was divided following World War II. You had West Berlin and East Berlin. One side was more democratic, the other side was communist. There was many beliefs of communism. A main one you need to remember for your test was that one of their beliefs was a classless society, meaning you didn't have the lower class, middle class, and upper class. Everybody was on the same playing field, which sounds great in theory, but again, we look back at if you have people who know that they're going to get paid whether they work or not, they're going to choose not to work. Then you're going to have people who are working and they're going to get mad because the people over here aren't working and they're making the same thing. So that's where we come into the problems with communism. Today, all of Germany is a democracy, and modern nations of Eastern Europe have a democratic form of government now. Not communist. It's not communist anymore. It's democratic. All right, so that brings us to the end of our test review. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a message on Ignition or send me a text, and I'll get back with you. If you have already taken your test and you weren't happy with your grade, once you've watched the video, let me know, and I will reassign the test to you. So if you have any questions, just get with me. If not, I'll see you guys later. Thanks.